Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. No sound. Good afternoon. I'm Paddy Tillett, Chairman of the City Club. Welcome to our annual review of the state of the city by Mayor Vera Katz. We're delighted to have with us today members of the Constitution teams of both Lincoln and Grant High Schools. And I hear the Grant School will be going to the national competition. I hear the Grant team is going to the national competition in the spring if they get their funding together. On Friday, the 1st of March, join us for an overview of our juvenile justice system featuring Joanne Fuller, who is interim director at the Multnomah County Department of Community Justice, Amy Holmes-Hine, who is senior deputy district attorney, and Judge Elizabeth Welch of the Circuit Court for Multnomah County. On your tables, you'll find information to assist you in participating in our 2-month membership campaign. Between now and March the 31st, we hope to add 100 new members, so please complete one of the forms with your pledge to recruit 2 new members. Complete the forms and give them to staff or send them to the club office. There are also membership application forms on the tables for non-members, so fill one of those out today. We've welcomed 30 new members so far, but we still have a long way to go to meet our goal. Our board host today, seated at the far end of the table, is Jane Cease, member of the Board of Governors and chair of the Research Board. She'll ask the first question of Mayor Katz. Following Jane's question, we'll open the program to questions from City Club members and our high school guests in the audience. Please identify yourself as a member of the City Club or your school, and keep your questions short and to the point so that we can cover as much ground as possible in the time available. Broadcast of City Club programs this quarter is made possible in part by corporate underwriting from Enterprise Rent-A-Car, from Pacific Care, and from the Weyerhaeuser Company Foundation. We're very grateful for their support. This will be the 10th time that Mayor Vera Katz has addressed the City Club with a State of the City report, so a conventional introduction of her would be superfluous. Last year, Mayor Katz focused on the river that runs through, unites, and divides our city, and the year before, she focused on education and workforce training. While following through on the pledges made on those and myriad associated issues clearly remains a priority for her, this year has its own set of urgent problems, of which you're all well aware. One of your predecessors in office, Neil Goldschmidt, has observed that we may have the all-time best team driving City Hall at present. That's a compliment, but it's also a challenge to produce all-time best results. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor Vera Katz.
Thank you, everybody. First, I want to thank the City Club again for giving me the opportunity to present the state of the city. And I also want to express my thanks to my colleagues on the City Council, and I'd like for them to stand up. Commissioner Hales, Commissioner Francisconi, Commissioner Sten, Commissioner Saltzman, and our auditor, Gary Blackmer. And I want to thank them for their leadership during these trying months. There are also a lot of familiar faces and a lot of elected officials here. So I'd like for all of the elected officials from the county and from the state, the congressional delegation will get their own introductions. But everybody else, could you please stand up? Focused, determined, and pushing forward. This is the state of our city. We are focused on dealing with the challenges of terrorist attacks, the recession, and shrinking government budgets. We are determined to protect and keep Portlanders safe, find jobs for the unemployed, and redouble our efforts to make city government more competent and responsive. And despite any terrorist threats, the recession, or difficult city budget decisions, we are pushing forward to make this city better for all Portlanders. These are tough times for many, but don't lower your expectations for this city or your future here. That's all right, you can clap. I retreat not 1 inch from the vision I've been leading us towards since the beginning of my first term, of Portland as a prosperous and sustainable place to work and live, a vibrant city anchored on the banks of a healthy Willamette River, a place enlivened with a variety of arts, culture, and sports, world-class public schools, colleges, and universities, an affordable city offering the best urban life in one of the most beautiful parts of the world, a city that is easy to get around in, with a central core that serves the state and the region as a hub for commerce and trade, a safe city, a well-planned city that is physically beautiful and architecturally exciting, a city with thriving neighborhood main streets, a city of civic-minded citizens who look out for and care for each other, and a diverse city that offers economic opportunities for all of us. Getting things done might not be as easy as during the boom times of the 90s. But I believe this city and its people are worth fighting for, be there good times or bad. I'm fired up, and I want you to be fired up too. Because when we work together, we can tackle even our toughest of challenges. Wisely, over the past 9 years, we made public investments that are now serving us well. Just in the last couple of years, Airport Max is beating ridership projections. The Oregon Convention Center expansion is underway. The Portland streetcar links the central city with Northwest Portland and Portland State University. Thousands of Portlanders have embraced the Willamette River with the completion of the first and second phase of the East Bank Esplanade. Fairless Square extension to Lloyd District has brought the east side and the west side of the city closer together. And thousands of new visitors come to Old Town Chinatown because of the classical Chinese garden. These investments helped keep this city at the top of the best United States cities list. But no city can afford to stand still, and much more work remains for all of us. I want to underscore what I mean when I say us. It is you and me and everybody else who lives or works or plays in Portland, because when it comes to protecting and improving our city, we are in it together. I strongly endorse President Bush's recent call for everyone in this country to rededicate themselves to community service. Today, I'm going to give you some real options to turn your love of Portland into action. When I describe the state of the city as determined and pushing forward, we are focused most on strengthening public safety, creating more jobs, and improving the way city government works. First, let's talk about public safety. For the first time ever, we have reached full authorized strength of 1,000 47 police officers. Our investments in community policing, aggressive fire prevention programs, as well as a new 911 technology has paid dividends. Part 1 crime rates are at a 31-year low. Fires are down 30%, and 911 calls are being answered faster than they have been in 7 years. And one reason that the city's crime rate is so low, because our community policing efforts use technology to analyze crime data and then respond to neighborhood gang and drug hotspots and other neighborhood troubled areas. With this approach, we have made great progress in ridding us of the epidemic of youth gun violence. Every other Friday, I meet at Northeast Precinct with representatives of law enforcement, including neighborhood response officers, members of the gang enforcement team and the youth gun anti-violence task force, representatives from the school district, from county parole and probation, from outreach workers and crime prevention specialists, just to name a few. There are about 30 or 40 members every other Friday that come and join us. We call ourselves the Every Other Friday Gang Group. And it is community policing at its best. We turn crime analysis into actions that take illegal guns off the streets, and our partners enforce and prosecute violators to the full extent permitted by state and federal laws. Our actions are producing results. Since 1996, gang-related drive-by shootings are down 73%. Youth murders with guns are down 75%. And in the past 3 years, 629 illegal guns have been taken off the Portland streets. So far, so good. But let's make 2002 the year no youths are murdered with a gun. Community policing is everybody's responsibility. But turn your love for Portland into community policing action. Become a block captain and be part of a crime prevention team that links your neighbors with your neighborhood police officers. And applications are at your table. Please fill them out. We are also building on our solid foundation of public safety as we respond to the local realities of the September 11th attacks. Multnomah County Chair Diane Lynn and City Commissioners and I, along with all local emergency response and planning officials, participated in a simulated disaster response exercise earlier this month. And we followed that up with a joint city, county, and regional emergency planning, all staff in service. As a result, we are now developing a communications plan that will more clearly define police, fire, and medical responses, coordinate the efforts with mental health specialists to handle the human trauma resulting from tragic incidents, and beginning to build an effective management plan to work with volunteers. We will also be identifying how to handle large decontamination efforts if needed, and how to best deal with weapons of mass destruction. To our knowledge, Portland still is not a target, but we need to be prepared for all types of natural and human-made disasters. We need you to be prepared for any kind of a disaster. So I'm going to ask you to complete 3 simple tasks. Assemble a 72-hour disaster kit, have a family emergency plan, and have at least one family member trained in first aid and CPR. And at your tables are brochures from the Portland Red Cross about their Prepare Oregon campaign led by Senator Hatfield, and that will provide more information for you. Last year, the Police Bureau also proved that we are tough on crime while still respecting a person's legal rights. May Day saw a robust yet peaceful group protest on a variety of issues. New Year's Eve celebration in Pioneer Courthouse Square went off without an incident. And although a state law prevented the Portland police from participating in questioning 23 local non-suspects, the Joint Terrorism Task Force showed its worth by recently arresting a suspect with possible terrorist connections. And our federal partners that we work with all the time completed the questioning. The police do not have to trample on persons' legal rights to effectively fight crime. And don't let anyone scare you into believing that. Unfortunately, all this determined work to keep Portland safe is under a threat as we face a general fund budget gap of $18 million in the next fiscal year. I'm going to be blunt. Portlanders will be less safe if we implement the full police and fire $11.6 million across the board cuts. I don't want to scare anybody unnecessarily, but public safety is the most important responsibility of any city or any mayor. And I'm not going to sugarcoat the profound negative impacts that these potential cuts could have. You must not accept cutting police and fire budgets by $11.6 million. I can't and I won't. Later, when I talk about the city's budget, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to approach the city's current fiscal challenges. But for now, let's turn to the issues of the economy and of jobs. When it comes to our local prosperity, we are focused on dealing with the challenges of the recession, determined to find jobs for the unemployed, and pushing forward toward economic recovery. Earlier, I referred to the 90s as the boom days, and they were for the Portland area. 250,000 new jobs, employment and income growth above the national average, real increases in income, and low downtown office vacancy rates. But the decade did not start out that way. We had to climb our way out of a 7.2% unemployment rate in 1993, the year I became mayor. We will do it again with short-term help to those who need it and an innovative economic strategy. As we know, Portland's economy is now worse off than most other cities in the United States. The Portland region lost 26,000 jobs last year. Portlanders are living with their worst economic hardship in almost 20 years. The good news is that the economists predict an upturn sometime later this year, but we have not been waiting. Last year, I laid out a set of aggressive economic development and job creation actions that has us facing the recession head-on and forcefully pushing back. To help those Portlanders who are now out of work, we've put together outreach and training programs that connect applicants to local jobs through Work Systems, Inc., our workforce agency. There are many jobs still available. Last month, 500 seekers attended our healthcare job fair, where many jobs are available and going begging to be filled. And 13,000 visited our website, where over 29,000 job listings in Oregon are also waiting to be filled. So if you know of anybody that's looking for work, please refer them to this site. Take out your pencils. www.connect2, not spelled out, jobs.org. We are also working hard to keep local businesses here. We passed our biggest test last year by retaining Freightliner. Working with our state partners and local partners, we provided them an enterprise zone tax abatement, energy tax credits, and training assistance for new manufacturing techniques. As a result, we will keep the 2,800 Freightliner jobs and thousands more in metals and related service industries. New business recruitment is also an important part of our strategy. And when it comes to getting new business, unlike the Olympics, there is no medal for second place. In the last few months, the Portland Development Commission, our economic arm for the city, has been engaged in 32 active recruitment and 33 retention and expansion visits. On this score, we won big with Adidas. Some of you might know it as Adidas. It is now Adidas. Did I say it correctly? We are an international city. We can use it either way. They agreed, as all of you know, to move here and give a facelift to the abandoned Best Kaiser Hospital building in North Portland. We welcome President Ross McMullen and his staff to the Rose City. Their General Counsel, Paul Ehrlich, is here with us. Please, Paul, be recognized. I think he's under 30, right? We are also working hard to bring a new regional sales office for Frito-Lay to Portland. We haven't gotten there yet, but I want you to welcome Senior Vice President of Sales, Mark Rodacker. Mark? He was very kind to bring a sample, a large sample, a very large sample of his supplies and his nice little packages. So after my speech, do two things. Please introduce yourself to Mark and tell him how much you would like for him to think about Portland as a sales office. This is what recruiting is all about. And then thank him for the chips and all the goodies that will be outside waiting for you. It should be that easy, ladies and gentlemen. And we are now on the verge also of securing another important company's decision to move here. We could add another 1,200 new jobs to Portland with a manufacturer of alternative energy systems. Their decision to locate is now dependent on the extension of the federal alternative energy production tax credit legislation, which Congress is currently considering. I want to thank all of the members of the Oregon congressional delegation who are helping us push this legislation through. And some of us are very thrilled that a few of them are here with us this afternoon. So please welcome Senator Gordon Smith, Congressman Earl Blumenauer, and Congressman David Wu. As we help the unemployed find work, as we assist local businesses expand, and as we try to recruit new ones, we are also building Portland's new economy. Until the last quarter century, our economy depended primarily on the forest product industry. In the 80s and the 90s, we made a significant shift to high technology, tourism, business, and professional services. Though times are difficult now, high tech will recover, and with it the many businesses that support it. However, as we plan for the future, we are examining how to strengthen our other targeted industries, the creative services, biosciences, sustainable industries, and transportation sector industries, and also grow opportunities for our high-tech and traditional manufacturing. Our future economy must be built on a foundation of well-educated and skilled workforce and of product innovation. Speaking of a well-educated, skilled workforce, we have, I think, 3 tables here. Would our young people please stand up and be recognized? From Grant, Lincoln, and the Episcopal School. The table on the far right, where are you from? Oh, okay, so we have 3 schools here. Thank you. Today, the train just derailed for a second. Today, instead of finding that raw material in our forests, we find it in the gray matter between the ears of our smart people. That's why I push public schools to be academically bolder, while the city has invested nearly $40 million in the school district, and why I and other city council members lobby the state legislature for adequate public school funding. That's also why a strong Oregon Health Sciences University at North Macadam and on Markham Hill are key to the growth of biosciences. And it's why the proposed Portland State University new graduate school of engineer is fundamental to high-tech manufacturing. And we need to unlock the commercial potential of all of our universities by encouraging more patents and capitalize on the discoveries by our scientists and engineers. The Central City is also key to our economic prosperity. That's why we continually focus on improving it. That work is never done. There is no finish line. The brewery blocks are about to open with a new Whole Foods grocery. Museum Place, the 3-block mixed-use development in downtown's west side, has broken ground. The new Hilton second tower will open soon. We're working with the May Company to keep and improve the downtown Meyer and Frank department store. And new housing and office towers were just completed in the Lloyd district. I already mentioned the convention center expansion and interstate light rail that will soon connect the Central City with North and Northeast Portland. And we're moving forward on North Macadam this year, Portland's next new neighborhood of offices, retail, housing, hotels, and parks. We can also build a big piece of our future economy on the quality of life innovations that already exist in Portland. our land use policies, our efforts to protect urban watersheds and natural habitat, our parks, our green spaces, our policies on sustainable development, our policies on public transportation. All of that, plus more, position us to expand our sustainable economy. There is no question in my mind that Portland can become the national model, no, even the world model for urban sustainability and green industries. Local firms are already exploring options for photovoltaic manufacturing. Solardyne Corporation has relocated from Massachusetts to Portland, Oregon. And Bonneville Power is helping beta test fuel cells from Idatech. Last week, Congressman Blumenauer, Commissioner Stanton Salzman, and I hosted a gathering of local business leaders to discuss this issue. There was no doubt in that room that our place as the leading city for sustainable economic development is ours for the making. I heard a great line the other day that there were really only two cities in the world that can save the planet by leading by example: Seattle and Portland. And guess what? I vote for Portland. If we hope to boost our exports of sustainable services and products, we must strengthen all of our local businesses to compete abroad. With free trade, the internet, overnight cargo shipping, Portland's economy has no borders. The Port of Portland director, Bill Wyatt, recently said that the port serves as the bridge for the rest of the world. He's absolutely right. But I want to make sure that bridge is filled with local products destined for global markets. And that's why Vancouver Mayor Royce Pollard and I announced last September the creation of a Pacific Gateway Alliance. For the very first time ever, the ports and cities of Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, along with the Portland Development Commission and POVA, and regional businesses are working together to improve international competitiveness. When I talk about creating jobs and prosperity, I always like to close with the exclamation point. Although diverse in many ways, Portland is still one of the whitest large cities in the country. That's why we must take special care to include people who are neither white nor male. One of my administration's top priorities is to lead on this issue by providing city contracting opportunities for a diverse set of minority and women-owned contractors. City government has made great strides in the past 3 years, but we, all of us, have much more work to do. Join me and others in making a strong commitment to the wealth creation for those who have been historically left out of our economic mainstream, especially women and people of color. A prosperous Portland must include equal opportunities for all. The new economic development strategy I've asked the Portland Development Commission and a Blue Ribbon Citizen Panel to draft will weave together the initiatives I've discussed today, along with other goals for streamlining our permit system, providing more help to small and neighborhood businesses, reviewing our business climate, and strengthening our capital economic partnerships. The recommendations will be ready in a couple of months. and I will publicly, with the commission and the council, announce the results. Finally, this recession is about more than statistics. It's hurting our friends and our neighbors. Many Portlanders are trying to make ends meet without a job. And in times like this, it's up to us, all of us, to help. So another way that you can turn your love for Portland into action is by volunteering for one of our many great charities and social service agencies helping those in need. I only have time today to feature just one, the Oregon Food Bank. It collects, stores, distributes food to local food pantries, to soup kitchens and shelters. The food bank needs more money, more food, more volunteers. You again have material at your tables for more information. In times like this, we, the entire community, need to help each other. My next issue is city government, how we pay for it, and how it should be organized. When I describe the state of the city as focused, determined, and pushing forward, I'm also describing what I want from city government itself. We've made difficult progress in dismantling some of our internal bureaucratic empires. And in the last 2 years, we saved $10 million by cutting city administrative costs. We also found creative ways to finance public improvements without adding undue burden to property taxpayers. All the public investments I mentioned earlier, the convention center, the PG Park, Fairless Square, Chinese Garden, East Bank Esplanade, the streetcar, and Airport Max, have been paid for with ticket fees, dedicated visitor taxes, federal funding, urban renewal tax increment proceeds, and private contributions, not new property taxes. And let me repeat, not new property taxes. And although an impressive 72% of Portlanders rate city livability as good or very good, and 82% rate neighborhood livability as good or very good, closing our budget gap will test us like never before. As far as the city's fiscal picture goes, 2002 came in with the roar of a lion. Unfortunately, the lion was not in a very good mood. We are short $3 million for this fiscal year in the general fund. We have another $18 million gap next year, and we are $6.2 million short in funding transportation. My approach for putting together my proposed budget includes the following. First, we must further reduce city government's administrative costs. I will put them all under the budget microscope, including financial services, public works, purchasing, facilities, and fleet maintenance. They might be cut, merged, or both. I will also be looking closely at our contracted out professional services. Last year, the city spent $50 million on professional, technical, and expert consulting contracts. We should be able to reduce this amount. Second, we can no longer simply thin the soup with across-the-board budget cuts. Not all city programs or projects are created equal. I'm going to prioritize the budget based on Portland's safety, economic security, and quality of life. Services outside the city's core mission can expect to meet tough scrutiny. Some programs might not just get cut, but cut out. Each of my 9 proposed budgets had ears, What I mean by that is that I put them together with lots of public input. As part of this effort, we surveyed Portlanders, and we do that every 2 years to get the pulse on their priorities. The early results for this year are in. By a wide majority, Portlanders' mood matches my own. They want public safety to receive the fewest cuts, followed by transportation, parks, and community development. Third, we can no longer afford to subsidize programs with general fund revenues that should be paid for with user fees. And while we're at it, we need to collect those legitimate fees and fines people owe to the city government. Fourth, we must find more private resources and partnerships, and I will look for more public-private partnerships where the city shares in profits from the business it conducts. Even though PGE Park had a rocky first year, it still provided $1.6 million to the city to help pay for the bonds that renovated it. And the Rose Garden Arena last year provided the city with $5.7 million to defray the parking structure bonds and upkeep of Memorial Coliseum. I don't like selling the naming rights of city properties. It took a lot of effort and enormous inner struggle for me to give up the name Civic Stadium. I continue to have this nightmare when I go to work, and the sign on the building reads, "Welcome to Portland City Hall, brought to you by the good people of Pepto-Bismol." But we don't need to do that. We can demand compensation from companies that already use our good name to sell their own products. Let me give you 2 examples. Many years ago, when we bought our Motorola 800 megahertz radios, they advertised that fact to other potential customers around the nation. And the same will be happening with the manufacturer of our solar parking meters. And so we can ask them to give us a little bit of those resources for the privilege of using our name. This approach has been used in San Diego to generate $1.2 million annually, and it's certainly an option for the city of Portland. Fifth, we will ask the state to give us a fairer share of the money we generate from photo radar, parking, and traffic citations. And we'll look at the cost-benefit of bringing back a municipal court system to Portland where the money would stay with us. Only after I get through this list of common sense budget actions will I look at tapping our reserves. City government, thanks to my predecessors, have healthy reserves, but they are not the panacea to our financial difficulties. Using them gives us the money only once. And anyone who runs a household budget knows you can't expect to buy a refrigerator on the installment plan with only the first month's payment. And if we expect to maintain our AAA bond rating, then we have to show how we can pay back those reserves within 2 to 5 years. As a last resort, only after cuts and prudent use of the reserves would I ask you for additional property taxes in a form of a serial levy, if at all, if at all. The council has referred a parks levy proposal to the voters for this May. I urge you to support it If it fails, we'll have to cut more parks programs than without it. This spring, I will also review the need for a public safety levy for November ballot if it becomes necessary to maintain adequate staffing and support for the Police Bureau and the Fire Bureau. One last budget thought. Actually, it's a thought about the state budget crisis, to be very specific, concerning the budget trade-off of cheap taxes on booze and cigarettes versus funding for such vital state services like health care and education. This is a no-brainer. Faint-hearted legislators and gubernatorial candidates, while I'm at it, should support our governor's revenue proposals. And I'm not even running for governor. To judge the state of the city government itself, we also need to look beyond the current budget crisis. We must ask ourselves, is the city government structured to best meet the needs of Portlanders? Let's get something clear right up front on this issue. My criticism of the commission form of government is just that, about the structure of the organization, not the city council and not the city government workers. I believe we produce results in spite of our current form of government, but not because of it. Let's also be really honest with each other. No form of government is perfect. The commission, the strong mayor, the weak mayor's strong city manager, the weak city manager, the strong mayor, all of these forms have their own strengths and weaknesses. The debate that we're going to have, and I hope the City Club leads the charge on that, will be a healthy one and a very timely one. And the question is for all of us to answer, what's best for us today? I've experienced this form of government from the inside and out. For me, it's clear. Our current system is set up for the last century, not the next. The commission form of government is creaky, turf-bound, and Byzantine. Today's complex issues do not fit into an 89-year-old, independently managed bureaucratic silos. If you want to build a building, build a streetcar or park, the commission form of government may work fine. But if you want to solve other more complex real-world problems, it is much less agile or effective. Solving problems is about much more than just being able to build projects. The polluted Willamette, neighborhood gentrification, retention of families with school children, poverty, economic exclusion, domestic violence, and yes, racism. These are just a few of Portland's problems that we must either solve or suffer the consequences. Yet none of these problems fit into a nice city bureau silo. Most require the work from many city bureaus, along with the outside help of our public and private partners. This is something that the commission form of government, by its design, is not good at. The Good Government Initiative on the May primary election ballot would improve the way the city is governed. It more clearly defines the roles and responsibilities of the mayor and the city council. It strengthens the accountability between the city's executive and legislative actions through a system of checks and balances. It brings city government's attention closer to your neighborhood. And I believe it will create a structure of city government that will serve Portland best into the next century. I'm very pleased that the majority of the City Council this week pledged to fix the initiative if it passes in May. And this will allow this very important debate to focus on its merits, not on a date mistake. To be clear, I want you to listen very carefully. My support for this initiative is not about me. I have not decided whether to seek another term. My support for this measure is about what I think is best for our city. In closing, it is most fitting that I honor this community's response to the terrible events of September 11. It brought out the best in most Portlanders, and I never felt more proud being your mayor. We reaffirmed our reputation as courageous and compassionate city with the Flight for Freedom, our donations of volunteer time, money, blood, and clothing. We made a difference. One of the most prized emails I received came from a New York police officer who wrote, "Dear Mayor, who I am is not important, though I am a police officer here in New York. And this email is not about that. I simply wanted to be one of who I hope will be many New Yorkers to simply say thank you to you and the hundreds of Oregonians who came to New York. I first heard of your planned trip last week, and it brought tears to my eyes. I spent 5 days on and off at the site, digging, sorting, moving debris, waiting. Then I see you and your planned trip on TV one night. You have no idea how that made me, and I'm sure others, feel. I'm only one voice, but I wanted to say thanks from one New Yorker to you and all who made the trip. We are down, but we'll never be out." When it comes to courage, there are people in this room who know firsthand what it means to overcome their own fear in service to this city. They have always been there for us. But the events of September 11th remind many how important they are to us. They protect us against crime. They pull us out from burning buildings and crashed cars and answer our calls of distress. They are the men and the women in the city's police and fire bureaus and in our 911 communications center. No state of the city address for 2002 would be complete without directly acknowledging their great work and the work of all of our city employees and the work of our city council. So those of you who are here, please rise and accept our applause. Win or lose, heroes are always people of pluck, grit, and resourcefulness. We have all the chance to be heroes. Maybe not the kind that has to put our life on the line or gets memorialized on bronze plaques, but heroes nonetheless. We become everyday heroes when we turn our love for this city into real action, however small, that helps Portland and its people. In these challenging times, we need more everyday heroes every day. So keep your expectations for Portland and its future high. Remarkable things await us. Stay focused, be determined, and push forward. Thank you, everybody.
I'm Jane Cease, and I'm supposed to ask the first question of our mayor. And first, I just want to personally say thank you, Vera, for being willing to do a very difficult job and to stay fired up. My question is, you mentioned a number of times sustainability as a goal and the land use process. And I was rather appalled yesterday when my email showed up with a very glowing description from the so-called neighborhood preservation people of what that measure to be on our May ballot is supposed to do that's good for neighborhoods. And I think what it really does is wipe out our ability to regionally work together as neighbors to solve our land use and density problems. And I just wanted to ask if you would comment on your feelings about it.
You're absolutely right. It is a disguise to push the urban growth boundary, plain and simple. Yes, there are issues in the neighborhoods on density and whether we can support good design, whether we can support transportation, and those need to be addressed by the leaders of this region. We are focusing our efforts on main streets and town centers and regional centers. And my understanding is that the Metro Council will put another measure on the ballot that clearly addresses this issue and urges us, probably requires all of us, not to place high density in our neighborhoods. And I've always said this here at the City Club: we must maintain the character of our existing neighborhoods. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't do it in new neighborhoods, which is what we've been trying to do in the central city so that we don't impact neighborhoods directly. We have a few questions.
Sure. Chris Smith, club member. Mayor Katz, I want to thank you for your leadership and your vision.
Thank you, Chris.
But I do want to ask you about your support for the Good Government Initiative. Yes. You mentioned the necessity to have a public debate about our form of government. And my question is an initiative the right way to do that? Because essentially all we can debate is an up or down vote on one specific proposal. Wouldn't we be better served by more public debate on different alternatives, ultimately culminating in a city council referral of a new form of government?
And that is a choice, absolutely. And in some areas, that's exactly what we do. It will probably take a much longer process to do that. It is a healthy process, but quite frankly, we have the initiative and referendum built into our Constitution, and people have used the initiative and referendum in the past. My hope is that this initiative is so dramatic in how it restructures government that it should get every neighborhood and every community and every service organization talking about its weaknesses and its strengths, and I hope that will happen. And we'll see what happens in May, and then we can continue talking about other options. Okay.
Bruce Broussard, member, Mayor. Again, thank you, Mayor, for the messages you gave us today in regards to jump-starting the economy. And again, more specifically, I'm thinking in terms of the initiative, the area you talked about, the Good Government Initiative, and the points that you were making in regards to what this initiative is going to do for the city of Portland. I really appreciate this, and I think it's going to do a number of good things for us. But better than that, my wife isn't here today, but she was going to be here today with us. But she told me, she said, Bruce, when the mayor announced the fact that she is going to,
there was somebody here.
Okay, my question is,
Okay.
my wife wanted to know, when are you going to actually announce the fact that you are going to be running for mayor for the Good Government Initiative? Because I am going to have to walk one of those zones when that happens. She also says to me that I'm going to have to stuff envelopes like she did the last time around when you first ran for mayor. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will make that announcement. I have 3 years. So you're going to have to bear with me for 3 more years. So there's plenty of time to make that announcement. And probably this will be the place that I will make it first.
Paul Meyer, member of the club, and I was a member of the City Club Committee that studied the form of government back in late 50s and early 60s, and the initiative at the time. I'm now on the current committee studying the ballot measure, and I wondered if you would articulate in what manner you would believe the new form would improve the functioning of the city government.
It is almost 1:20, Paul. It's a great question, and I'll be more than happy to come to your committee and give you examples of where I think it works well and where I think it really doesn't function quite as well. And it's examples that primarily a mayor gets from all the experiences and the sense of the community about what a mayor should be able to do. And in reality, under our form of government, mayors and even city council members have limited ability to get a lot of things done. But we can discuss that. That is the reason for the debate. We have one student who's going to ask me a constant. No, he beats you this time. This is a young man who's going to ask me a constitutional question.
Well, it's actually not a constitutional
Okay,
question.
good.
But my name's Alex Albertine. I'm from Grant High School on the Constitution team. We're going
And
to nationals in
congratulations.
May.
And congratulations. Before you ask the question, congratulations to Lincoln High School.
Oh, yes.
You were there for many, many years, and we all know it.
They're great competitors. I wanted to know what can be done to get more young people involved in civic activities such as voting and service-involved activities.
Good question. Good question. Is Congressman Blumenauer here? Congressman Blumenauer asked that same question many years ago when he turned 18 years old, which is probably your age. And he went out and beat the bushes around the state with a group of young people to ensure that 18-year-olds got the vote in the state of Oregon. And he accomplished that. And so the challenge to you is to identify what's important for you. My guess is the challenge for you is your education and your ability to secure a good job and be able to continue on with your education in either community colleges or universities. And so you need to figure out what you need to do over the short term, and our short term is like next week, or the long term, the very long term, to make the citizens of this state clearly understand that the future is in your hands, and the future is in our young people's hands, and how important that is for their social security, but more important, how important it is for the future of this country, and certainly the future of this state. Thank you, everybody.